Hello and welcome. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for this explainer. Today, we're diving into something really special, a rigorously analytical journey into a piece of media that completely transcends its medium. Now, at first glance, the game we're looking at has this bright, colorful, incredibly child-friendly aesthetic. You see the art style and you think, okay, this is a lighthearted adventure. But bubbling right beneath those vibrant pixel art sprites is a remarkably dark, mature story. We're talking about deep grief, profound isolation, and the bittersweet magic of a world that never quite was. We are really going to be looking at the remarkable courage it takes to leave a perfectly comfortable illusion behind. So today, we're breaking down the profound maturation arc hidden within the grid-based battles of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Let's get right into it.
So I want you to start by asking yourself, what happens when the ultimate escape actually becomes a trap? Keep that fundamental, guiding question right in the back of your mind as we go. We're going to explore how a game, one designed ostensibly for young audiences, brilliantly intertwines strict, mechanical, tactical gameplay with a deeply philosophical narrative. Because, this isn't just about winning battles or grinding for levels. It's a rigorous exploration of the dangers of childhood escapism. It's about the heavy, often agonizing burden of moral responsibility you face when you finally realize that a fantasy, no matter how comforting, is holding you back from truly living.
Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The Dream of Ivalice. 2. Mastering Tactical Survival. 3. Advanced Clan Management. And finally, 4. The Burden of Reality.
Starting off with Section 1, The Dream of Ivalice.
Every transformative journey begins with a departure from the known, right? But in this story, that departure happens with whiplash-inducing speed. It all starts on an utterly mundane, totally ordinary, snowy afternoon in the town of St. Ivalice. A group of kids is just having a snowball fight. It's this fragile, fleeting moment of childhood innocence. But if you look closely, that innocence is already cracking under the weight of real-world tensions. Then, a mysterious, ancient book, known as the Grand Grimoire, is opened. And just like that, the recognizable comforts of our protagonist Marche's world are violently and instantly stripped away. Literally overnight, he awakens in the sun-scorched, unforgiving desert of a dream realm simply called Ivalice. His friends are lost, his brother is missing, and the familiar town is entirely replaced by the terrifying unknown.
To truly understand the philosophical weight of this story, we really have to ground our analysis in the characters' intense motivations for escaping in the first place. Back in the real world, these children are in immense pain. Mute is relentlessly bullied at school, and he's grappling with the agonizing grief of his mother's death, not to mention his father's subsequent descent into alcoholism. Rit struggles with deep insecurity over her naturally white hair, so much so that she's constantly dyeing it just to avoid being mocked. And March's brother, Dawn, he deeply resents his frail, wheelchair-bound body and chronic illness. But then, look at the dream world. Here, Mute's mother is alive, and he is literally a powerful prince. Rit's hair is vibrantly, naturally red. Dawn can run, fight, and walk without any pain whatsoever. We have to understand how incredibly intoxicating this new reality is. I mean, think about it. Why would anyone ever willingly leave a world that miraculously cured all of their real-world trauma?
So Marchi is thrust into this strange reality, but he isn't entirely alone. Almost immediately, he meets Mont Blanc, who is this fuzzy, pink, remarkably adorable creature called a Moogle. Mont Blanc provides a desperately needed, warm anchor in a deeply disorienting desert, offering Marchi a spot in a clan and some immediate guidance. It teaches a vital lesson right off the bat. Survival in an overwhelming reality cannot be achieved in isolation. You absolutely need allies. But what's brilliantly ironic here is that while Mont Blanc is this fluffy symbol of warmth and safety, the game eventually introduces lawless regions called Jogds. And in these specific zones, the game mechanics allow for actual permanent death. So if you get careless, this sweet, comforting anchor can be violently and permanently stripped away from you. The fantasy is not entirely safe.
Which brings us to Section 2, Mastering Tactical Survival.
Because to survive in Ivalice, wide-eyed enthusiasm simply isn't going to cut it. The tactical grid you fight on isn't just a chessboard, it is a direct translation of careful spatial positioning into narrative agency. Think about why this agency is so incredibly vital for a kid like March. Back in the real world, he had absolutely zero control over the bullying, zero control over the familial disruptions. But here, suddenly every single step matters. Every choice has an immediate, mathematically observable consequence. The grid demands a level of focus that leaves literally no room for childish impulsivity.
Mastering this grid means overriding those impulsive reactions with measured adult discipline. If you run straight at an enemy in a blind rage, your unit is going to get completely decimated. Instead, you have to learn positioning, striking from behind or from the sides to prevent devastating counterattacks. You must master balance, carefully mixing heavily armored frontline fighters with highly vulnerable support mages. And you have to understand elevation, claiming the high ground for massive accuracy and damage bonuses. By forcing you to master these spatial relationships, the game transforms chaotic scrambles into calculated exercises in tactical dominance. Honestly, it teaches psychological discipline just as much as it teaches strategic placement.
And this demand for discipline extends perfectly into how your characters grow. See, abilities here are tied directly to equipment. It requires this strategic juggling act where you keep specific weapons and armor equipped just long enough so your units absorb new skills before you can finally equip that statistically stronger gear you just bought. It requires tremendous patience.
And amidst all this combat, there is something inherently, wonderfully absurd about being a mighty, heavily armed warrior who is tasked with quietly picking medicinal herbs while actively avoiding terrifying monsters. Yet, these simple, quiet little dispatch missions lay the essential structural groundwork for all your progress. They teach the player a very real-world lesson. Massive power isn't just handed out for free. Great strength is built upon small, consistent, incredibly unglamorous efforts.
As your journey progresses, the stakes rise dramatically. Picture a tense, late-game skirmish. Your fragile white mage is suddenly cornered by rival clan assassins. Your magic is finite. And let me tell you, an empty magic pool turns a powerful healer into a total liability real fast. You are forced to make a desperate defensive choice, practicing rigid health discipline and rationing your resources perfectly just to survive the turn. The game relentlessly enforces the reality that brute force will fail. You have to be thoughtful, defensive, and fiercely protective of your vulnerable allies.
Moving into Section 3, Advanced Clan Management.
As March's understanding of this world's complexity expands, the mental load required to actually lead his clan skyrockets. Standard basic tactics completely fall apart against highly optimized enemy guilds. You have to dive deep into this wildly imaginative, complex web of job trees. It's like a giant puzzle. Suddenly, you're coordinating New Mu illusionists who can strike the entire battlefield, Banga gladiators with immense physical prowess, and Viera snipers who can render enemies completely invisible. You're cross-referencing abilities, building hyper-specialized units, and executing serious mental gymnastics just to keep your team alive and ahead of the curve.
Advanced tactics require layering your strategies seamlessly. Dispatching your reserve units on passive missions ensures your bench never falls behind. Stealing rare equipment mid-battle from wealthy enemies, that can completely alter the momentum of a fight. And morphing your units to absorb and mimic enemy monster skills demands total situational awareness. It's these layers of complexity that truly separate a mediocre player from a master tactician.
And your reward for achieving this mastery? It's staggering. The world literally yields to you. Completing missions allows you to physically place new map locations, towns, forests, and hidden regions right onto the board. You are quite literally constructing the dream world piece by piece, shaping Ivalice around your clan's progress. It feels amazing. It is the ultimate act of escapist control. But it's also a brilliant narrative trap, because building this beautiful, customized fantasy makes the eventual choice to destroy it infinitely more tragic.
Because right at the height of your power, the narrative confronts you with a devastating moral dilemma. March finally encounters his friends Ritz and Mute, and they are flourishing. Ritz no longer has to hide her natural hair. She feels beautiful and confident for the first time. Mute has his deceased mother back, a resurrected, loving presence that completely cures his profound loneliness. Their genuine contentment challenges absolutely everything. Let's move to our final section, Section 4, the burden of reality.
There is no brute force path through this finale. The game demands you use every single ounce of foresight and discipline you've acquired over dozens of hours to literally dismantle the dream that you helped build.
Marchi embracing this agonizing responsibility truly forms the emotional core of the experience. It is the long, arduous choice to turn back, walking away from absolute power and perfect comfort. I mean, even his own brother, Donid, fights him bitterly to stay in a world where his chronic illness doesn't exist. It is the profound, incredibly heavy weight of a child coming to the realization that a comfortable illusion, no matter how beautiful or how painless, is just not a real life. Loving people sometimes means refusing to enable their escape. It's a tough pill to swallow, and the resolution does not offer an easy, painless answer. Mute, Ritz, and Dond are dragged back to a world with wheelchairs, bullying, and overwhelming grief. But reality offers something Ivalice never ever could: genuine closure. By returning, they can actually process their trauma and move forward. The truth brings the possibility of real, lasting healing, whereas the fantasy only ever offered emotional stagnation. What we witness here is a stunning dual maturation arc. We start with a confused kid in a snowy schoolyard, and we end with a confident leader who outmaneuvered an entire dream world. But here's the thing. That growth belongs just as much to you, the player, who had to learn the patience, the strategy, and the emotional resilience to dismantle a perfect fantasy. This game boldly teaches that comfort and truth are rarely the same thing, celebrating the profound power of choosing a harder reality over a comfortable fiction. So I leave you with this final thought. What comfortable illusions are you currently defending in your own life? And more importantly, do you have the tactical discipline to finally leave them behind? Well, thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive today. Take these lessons with you, and I will see you in the next explainer